What's going on, guys? Today got a video for you about a pattern that I noticed in multiple stories about like the primary antagonist figure being obsessed with or driven by or driven to create a dream world and what I think that means. So at first I have a bunch of examples from several different movies and games and TV shows and different villains, and I'm going to try to explain what I think that means, and I'll try to keep it brief, as brief as I can. Really, what this comes down to is I'm gonna introduce a principle, right? And I'm gonna call that principle escapism. There might be another way you can think about it, and there's probably a bunch of different ways you can phrase it, but for the sake of simplicity and I don't know, common understanding, we're going to call it escapism because most people understand what that is, and most of us are all guilty of it in some way or in some form or another. And I'm going to show you how that principle of escapism can be viewed at different levels of analysis simultaneously, and have it make sense still. Or I'm going to attempt to do that at least. So, up first we have this movie called Legend. I'm kind of cautious about playing this stuff for you with the audio because of copyright. This is a movie called Legend, right? And this is the devil character, the main antagonist, right? And he says right here, I'm not going to play it because I'll probably get copyright for this one. He says, "Dreams are my speciality," right? So, again, that's just one example. This guy's like literally the devil. It's not always going to be someone who's as obviously like devilish looking as he is, you know, classically devilish looking with the red and the horns and stuff. But he fills that psychological literary slot. So again, he just says, "Dreams are my speciality." I'm going to try and keep this brief. So this is Madara from Naruto, right? And again, don't get so caught up on the template that I'm using to teach you to show you this stuff, and just think about what I'm showing you. So this is not where you belong. You had best disappear into a dream. That's what Madara is saying to his opponents. And if you know, his goal is in the show is something called the Infinite Tsukiyomi. And what that is he wraps everyone up in a cocoon and puts them all into a dream world. He turns the moon blood red, which I think is symbolic, but I'll leave that for another video. I think that's symbolic of his sacrifice of care, because the moon's feminine, and the feminine trait is usually reflected or symbolized as care. And I'm not saying that means only women have it, but that's my idea of what I think that means. That he had to eliminate that from himself in order to like go through with his plan. I think that's what that means, but this isn't a video about sacrificing the feminine or whatever. And anyways, he says, "This is not where you belong. You had best disappear into a dream." So he puts everyone into a dream world where they're actually like experiencing an illusion that they like. So it's in this dream world, they're having a good time. You know, they're envisioning themselves with the girl that they've always wanted, or they're respected among the other clanmates. Whatever it is, they've achieved their goal in the dream, but it's not real. It's fake. And in reality, their energy is getting siphoned off to the the big tree. I forgot what it's called. The divine tree. Much like how Morpheus, when he's talking to Neo in the Matrix, he holds up a battery. First of all, the Matrix and the Infinite Tsukiyomi are like the same idea in two different stories. And you got to think about why Agent Smith or the architect. Maybe Agent Smith is just the guy that carries out his will or whatever. And Madara are obsessed with creating a dream world. Same with and you know, I'm trying to get through these examples, and then I'll tell you what I think it means, but I'll give you a little bit here and there. And part of it, to be fair, has to do with feelings of this reality isn't fair. You know, like some people are born with a certain disease, or some people have talents and other people don't, and there's death and there's loss and there's pain here. So screw this reality. I'm gonna create my own. Madara. I know if you don't watch Naruto, I'm sorry, but it speaks to like what is driving this attitude, and I'll give you like real world examples, politically, governmentally, scientifically, technologically, of this principle of culturally of this principle of escapism taking place. And that's what I meant when I said earlier by it can be viewed from multiple levels of analysis simultaneously, and even psychologically or internally. You know, it's not always like an external struggle. This guy's henchman or teammate or whatever, Obito, as soon as the girl that he loves gets killed, he's obsessed with time to create another world where you exist. I'm in hell, things like that. So what that's saying is this world's filled with pain, so what they're ready to do about that is basically enslave everyone, really, is what I mean. I guess like you could say it's not slavery because people are getting what they want in the dream, but ultimately in reality they're just wrapped up in this cocoon or in this machine in the Matrix, getting their energy siphoned off. And I think a lot of, like, if you're alive to see the New World Order, right, I think that's what it's going to be like in the end game, if you even live long enough to, like, see its final manifestation. So this is another example. It's from a movie called Demon City Shinjuku or something. I don't know. It's another old anime movie, and this guy says, I did a whole video on this movie, so you can check out that if you want to see a variety of topics discussed through the lens of this movie. And this guy says to the protagonist, the dude standing further away, he's like, "You fool! You should not have struggled to escape my spell. You should have remained in your sleep." And so again, we see this bad guy obsessed with putting everyone to sleep, and then, you know, in the reverse of that, I don't think I have the examples. I might at the end of here, so we'll see. And if I don't, then I'll just speak on it without the examples. But the reverse of that, how the hero, so the bad guy wants to put you to sleep. The hero is supposed to, obviously, the reverse of that is wake up. And again, how I said, it can be looked at a numerous different bunch of ways at different levels of analysis, and it still makes sense all at the same time in the same way. It's hard for me to put this all together for you guys because my mind's connecting so many dots at the same time. And, you know, like, wake up, right? When people say, oh, wake up, you know, they're saying, like, realize the truth or see what's in front of you. You know, like, they're giving, like, how conspiracies say, people say, like, oh, get woke. You know, I'm woke. You know, why are they saying that? Because they're aware. And so another way you can think about this asleep-awake dynamic is not only a literal, like, machine/dream world where you're, like, literally jacked in, but like a world based on lies, right? Or a world based on truth. And that lie, that information you've been given since birth, is sort of like what the dream world is in a lot of ways. Obviously, I honestly think in the future we are moving towards an actual dream world, like where we're going to build something that's not like this reality. And so again, that's another way you can think about it, is a a world based on lies. So therefore your perceptions, what you think is real and not real is based on this information they've given you, based on basically the idea that they think it's for the best, so that they can control you. It's not all malevolent, but a lot of it really is. A lot of it is sinister. So again, this guy says, "You fool, you should not have struggled to escape my spell, you should have remained in your sleep." So, and again, it goes back to the, in order to initiate this is the reason I'm bringing this up now, like I said in the Naruto one, how he needed to turn the moon blood red, which I believe is symbolic of the sacrificing of the divine feminine, or care, or the sacred feminine trait. This guy in this movie, the demon dude, in order to bring the demon world into this reality and let all the demons in, he has to kill this girl right here, sacrifice her. She needs to be sacrificed. And this guy, why he says, you fool, you should not have struggled to escape my spell, you should have remained in your sleep. This girl is the one that wakes him up. This demon puts him under a dream, under a sleep spell, and it's her care that made him wake up. That's an important thing to understand, because I'm showing you the bad side and the good side at the same time, and you're going to see that exact thing right here play out in Snow White. So she's saying, you know, another interesting, how you keep seeing devil, like this guy is an actual demon. Madara, first of all, they all occupy that antagonist literary slot. And on the spiritual side, you could think of it as like the devil, and in this case in Legends, it's like literally the devil or Satan. You keep seeing these like satanic symbolisms alongside with the dream side. And here we have Snow White eats the apple, right, of all fruits, to get put to sleep. And she's dressed in black, you know, it's all evil witch. She's saying, you know, I'll be the fairest of them all. She wants to put Snow White into a dream, right? So we keep seeing, I don't know exactly what she's saying right here. But she's saying, you know, of course her overall goal is to get Snow White into a dream so that she can take something from her, or take something uncontested, right? Have undisputed dominion over the earth, or whatever, the kingdom, or whatever. And a lot of the times, you know, I'm not trying to reduce the bad guy side to like, oh, they want to put you into sleep so that they can take everything over without anyone putting their 2 cents in about it, or disputing them on that claim that they own this earth. That's definitely a part of it. Some of their arguments against being are justified. And how I'm showing you, really what this escapism comes from is like almost a resentment, a hatred of reality as it is, with all the pros and cons of it, you know, like love and loss, and you know, the price that we pay for, you know, happiness and sadness. It's just that duality. They seek to almost kind of eliminate it. I lost what I was about to say, but it's whatever. I think it was kind of important, but I forgot now. Anyways, the victim of the sleep can be revived right here. The victim of the sleeping death is what it's called. The sleeping death can be revived with love's first kiss. So again, you know, that's, I don't really remember Snow White too well, but that's the you know, the Prince Charming. He comes along and care, and see how the care is not always literally a female character, although it typically is. It's symbolic of a trait in ourselves, which is typically personified with a woman, which I think has some basis in reality, because I just think biologically and spiritually and naturally women tend to be the more, you know, they're not like warriors and soldiers and shit. They're like the more nurturing, motherly side. I'm not saying that doesn't exist in men, which is what the point I'm making right now, because Prince Charming wakes up Snow White in this case, and it's his love that wakes her up. So again, you're seeing bad guy obsessed with putting you into a dream, good guy trying to wake everyone up, and the tool by which he's using to wake people up is love or care. It's kind of like, you know, you could think of another, like how I said, again, multiple levels of analysis and viewed simultaneously, and it all makes sense at the same time, together in unison. Escapism, if you take that principle and look at it, the principle of escapism, and look at it through the lens of drug addiction, I'm not saying that's the only reason people do drugs, but as an ex-addict and knowing a lot of addicts in my life, I can tell you for a fact that's one of the major, major drivers. Obviously, there gets to be like a chemical dependency, like people become, you know, like physiologically addicted to nicotine, to opioids, to amphetamines, to alcohol, to all that crap. But I've even listened to one heroin addict's interview. He's like, you know, I'm quitting heroin, so as I'm quitting it, I have to basically face all the problems that I was avoiding. So he's like, not only do I have to quit heroin, which is the biggest struggle of it all, I have to face all the problems that I've been avoiding by shooting heroin. So again, it's like escapism. It's like, if you really think about it, it's like the opposite of what the hero does. One of the primary traits of like the hero archetype, or the idea of what the hero is voluntarily confrontation with the thing that they are afraid of. And that's like it's almost like a definition of courage. And escapism is like the retreat from that, the opposite of that. And, you know, I guess it starts off as a social thing, but people, you know, they don't want to think about their problems, and they don't want to, me included, they don't want to think about what's going on in the world or whatever, so we escape with alcohol abuse, drug abuse, technology abuse, video game, television. I have so much stuff to tell you guys, and no one's probably going to even see this video. I have so much stuff to tell you guys, and I see it all at once. Like, when I think about this stuff, I see it all at once, and I don't know how to, like, get people to see what I'm seeing. And maybe I'm crazy, or you can comment and just say you're full of crap. This doesn't make any sense. Anyways, and I'll get to that in a minute as far as technology goes. And I'll speak on it now since I'm already talking about it. Obviously, one way, if you take the idea of escapism, one classic way that we do that in the modern world is through video games and television, and even YouTube videos. You know, it's not a very good business move for me to tell you guys this as like someone who makes YouTube content, but you shouldn't be on here all day. You should live in the real world. So, you know, after this video, go handle some of your own personal business that you need to handle. And I shouldn't be telling you that as someone who wants to, like, progress their channel, which there comes, like, the conflict of trying to, like, tell the truth and, like, also grow what you're doing without basically stealing or taking, not really stealing, I don't want to put it like that, but without taking from others. Anyways, we can all understand how people will basically, it's an addiction thing too, but people will basically turn off their brain by watching, like, mindless television, scrolling through, like, that's why there's so much entertainment in America. I think so much, the reason there's so much entertainment is because, first of all, it's just profitable, and second, it's just part of the culture, and it's also, like, I don't know, man, we don't like to think about stuff, and I remember Steve Jobs heavily critiquing television. You know, he's saying most people want to turn on the TV and turn off their brains. It's a good interview with him. You should watch it. And he's telling a lot of truth about. And he says it's not only a conspiracy. He said it's something to do with us, like, as humans, and he's right about that. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, the psychological, emotional, spiritual side of things. Although I would disagree with Steve Jobs in the aspect that he says there is no conspiracy to basically push out garbage information, like on television and stuff, to basically dumb people down and keep them distracted. I would disagree and say that is going on, although he is right about us being complicit in it and it being a part of an aspect of ourselves. And I think that's even more true than the conspiracy side. Anyways, the point is, what I'm telling you is also reflected through the symbols used on video games and televisions. If you look up how I'm telling you, like, the devil is basically the guy that wants to put you in a dream. Okay, well, understand this. Saturn, the planet Saturn, is the astrological parallel for the biblical character of Satan. And on the Xbox, I'm going to do a whole video on it. If you haven't checked out my Saturn symbolism, I'm about to upload Saturn symbolism 2 and 3, and I'm going to talk about this particular, but if you look up a classic symbol used in Saturn rituals is the X within a circle. The Xbox, you know, that's the Xbox 360. That's the it's, to me, again, it's not, I'm not basing my opinion off that, strictly off the symbol. It's just how I see it being used and how I've used it, and kind of being honest about the detrimental effects it has on us. And that also stacks up parallel with the symbols being used on it. If you look up the Baird television, I talked about this in my video Saturn Symbolism 2. If you look up the Baird television, I believe it's Baird. I could be wrong about that, but they use a Saturn on it. They show Saturn on one of the first televisions ever developed. Not to mention that they're all mostly black mirrors, which is a Wiccan tradition for, like, channeling another dimension. There's a lot of symbology behind the technology that we use. But anyways, on the TV, there's the Saturn thing, the Xbox, the X in a circle. We use it to escape from our reality. We're kind of like heroes, like in a video. I like video games, but, like, really at the end of the day, you're being a hero in a made-up world, like, instead of, like, trying to be like that in your real life. And I love talking about the values of storytelling and everything. So obviously it has its value and it has its place, but there's a lot of, like, mindless escapism going on. Anyways, one last thing before I get to the rest of these examples is, I remember what I was going to say earlier, how a lot of half of the claim, there's two sides to the bad guy's story. One's like a more understanding level of it, the other's like they're being nefarious, and the nefarious side of it is like, well, hold on, the more understanding side of it would be like, again, they're trying to create an alternate reality because there's too much pain here. Something like that, and it'll be better for all of us, and there'll be peace and all that if we can just basically take away human freedom, is what it really comes down to. But, and they might be right, and they have a lot of valid points. The more resentful side of it is how I've showed you how it's used to basically maintain their dominance undisputed, to siphon off energy and resources from everyone else, like an oligarchy, right? And some of it even comes down to a hatred of the common man and this reality in itself, and in some sense of the word God. And biblically, if you look at characters like Cain and Nimrod and Satan, there's some evolutions in the idea, but what an archetype is like a classic category for, like, a set of attributes that, like, are, like, I'm basically saying these characters are all fundamentally the same. Cain, Nimrod, Satan. And sure, there's some differences in, like, there's some evolutions in the idea and stuff, but fundamentally they have a common principle. And one of those common principles that is related to what I'm telling you in this video is the hatred or resentment at being itself, at existence, at reality. Cain, his sacrifices are inadequate. He kills his brother Abel. Nimrod tries to build the Tower of Babel, which again is Saturn. El is Saturn. He tries to build the Tower of Babel, and you know, he's a great king. You know, how I said there's some evolutions in the idea. I don't want to get too caught up on this for too long, but Cain, you kind of get the impression that he's like, oh, he made inadequate sacrifices, like he was irresponsible and lazy, and things didn't turn out his way, and he got pissed off about it. That's putting it like very much against Cain. Like you could make a better, you could give the devil his due, right? You could elevate his argument to the ultimate, which I often do. But because if you want to dispute another person's argument, you got to do it at its highest form, not at its lowest, like a straw man. You don't want to do that. Anyways, Nimrod, he's portrayed as like a great, powerful, strong, charming, admired king, and he tries to build the Tower of Babel to kill God, to overthrow God, and it's based on that same. And he wanted to consolidate all power, consolidate all languages, unify the world, right? And that sounds real flowery and nice, but it means something different in this case. It means undisputed dominion over the planet. And again, you see that resentment at being, at reality. He wants to escape. He wants to create something else out of here. And, you know, I get it, because half of life here is suffering, at least. And Satan obviously is like, another word for him is like the adversary, the one who goes against. And people think like, oh, I'm going off topic here, but whatever. And people think, oh, Satan's the good guy because he's the adversary. When you walk this earth, right, and you see like government and dogmatic religious institutions and political institutions and financial institutions, they think Satan is the adversary to those things. It's like, no. He's the adversary to natural law. He's the adversary to moral principles. He's the adversary to God's rules, to the ideal. He's the one that goes against those. If you actually watch Jesus Christ and read his story, I'm not trying to make this a religious video, but it has elements of that. Like I said, it can be viewed in many different ways, and some of that includes the Bible and other spiritual teachings. If you actually watch how Jesus acted on the earth, he spoke out against the religious institutions, he spoke out against the financial institutions, he spoke out against the governmental institutions, and the devil is called the god of this world. All those things are of him. Jesus Christ came here, and at least if you don't believe he did historically, think about it like literally, like through the lens of a narrative, like a story, and think about what it means, like you did in language arts class. Like, oh, what does that mean, kids? What's the moral of the story? And, you know, Jesus is actually the one that goes against the grain. People think that's the devil because he has one of the things you can call him is the adversary, and it's like, no. He's the adversary against, like, freedom and responsibility. He's the adversary against, like, again, like natural law or moral principles. He's not the adversary against, like, the government or something. Like, you know, people think like, oh, the revolutionary spirit is him, and that's not true at all. Honestly, if you go with Christ, again, why do you think they call him the God of this world? It's because, and Jesus is not of this world. It's because he's really the one that goes against the grain. He's really the cool outsider, you know, trying to shake things up. It's not the devil. People switch it up too much. Anyways, how the devil is like Nimrod through the common thread of like resentment at being, is obviously the devil is the adversary to God, which is, again, like you could think of it as in some sense like being itself, like existence itself, among many other things. I've gotten so way off topic here, and this video is just gonna have to be long. Anyways, true love's kiss wakes her up. I'm going to do another video on it. There's just so many things I see at once, and it's hard for me to stay on topic. Because there's the skull, this black witch. She's got the crow. I believe it's a crow as her pet. I'm going to do a video on Saturn and the crow. A lot of symbolism there. She has to get Snow White to eat the apple to put her to sleep. So back on topic. So now we have Jungle Book, right? And I think is the name of the snake. I forgot the name of the boy, but he says, trust in me, trust in me, shut your eyes and go to sleep, hold still, blah blah blah, you can sleep safe and sound knowing that I'm around. So again, slip into silent slumber, blah blah blah. Your senses, slowly your senses will cease. So again, you see cease to resist. And again, you see how, again, another, we had the apple, we had the devil. It's always the same guy. It's always the same. These might look like different characters to you, but how I'm trying to, this is one trait that I'm trying to show you across multiple literary slash storyline story characters. And there's more than one trait that they have in common, but this is just one. And I'm trying to show you how they're all like the same guy. And what that, psychologically, there's guys that talk about that, like Joseph Campbell, Carl Jung, Jordan Peterson, and what they would call that as an archetype. So look into those. They have great meaning, like, and they're everywhere. And it's, I've gotten to the point where I think it's absolutely true. Right now, you know, people see things like in unconnected dots, and you know, the lines that connect them is like something I'm trying to show you here, and it'll give you a more holistic or total view or whole view of like what's going on. If you can understand that these guys are all the same, and part of them lives in you. Okay, so I do have the positive examples. This is just the beginning of a Legend of Zelda game. It's like, open your eyes, wake up, Link. So he, you know, in this case, I mean, I could still be, how I showed you, like, love is what wakes them up, gets them to care enough to, like, basically exist in reality and confront it. Like responsibility to others. I don't know who's waking Link up in this. It's a feminine voice waking him up, and he's in the water, right? But I haven't played this game, so I don't know who's waking him up. Right now, for all I will say about that is the hero wakes up or wants you to wake up. The villain wants you to go to sleep. And so you have the classic Matrix scene, wake up, Neo, right? The Matrix has you, you know, wake up, Neo, the Matrix has you. Again, this is another one from Naruto. This is, so Naruto's feeling defeated, right? He's unconscious under the water, and all of his friends and mentors and teachers and whoever, their hands go to lift him up, and they say, this is all for your sake, for the sake of the future, for the sake of your friend, forward. And he wakes up. So, I mean, that could be me reaching, but, like, again, it shows, you know, he didn't want the infinite Tsukiyomi to happen. Sasuke wanted, he thought it was a good idea. He wasn't going to free everyone from the dream world. So, again, the hero wants to free everyone and have them be awake because they believe in a grander meaning, and I think they think that people are emotionally, spiritually, physically, psychologically strong enough, I guess to put it mildly, to contend with the suffering that's part and parcel of existence itself. And again, that's another common thread you'll find among the bad guys and among the good guy. Typically the bad guy has a anti-human view. The good guy has a positive human view. And it doesn't mean like the good guy will still judge. Like if you think of Jesus, he's like the ultimate in merited judgment and like unlimited forgiveness. He's almost both. Like it doesn't mean anything goes. Like if you had a loved one, I don't think it means that you love someone if you let them do anything. Like if you let someone that you said you love shoot heroin in front of you, I don't think that you truly love them. I think if you felt true love for them, you would judge them at that point and try to stop it and reach out to them. But typically you'll see, because people take that as hate. Like when I say, oh, the good guy has a positive human view, and they'll point to like, oh, he makes these judgments and stuff. He wants to hold us to a higher standard. That must mean he doesn't like us or he doesn't like humans. It's like, no, dude, he believes in you. He just thinks that, like Jesus said, I saw a movie. I don't know if it's an actual biblical quote, but the guy playing Jesus said, no, I just think that their hearts are ready to hold more. So he's the one that believes in people, right? The devil's the one that's accommodating, right? Again, that's accommodation is almost like the dream world. Like, oh, just zone out, tap out. Don't worry about everything over here, and I'll take care of it, you know? And that's partially, I think that anti-human view is partially why you start to see in satanic schools of thought the belief that the self is God, or that the self can be God. And I think that's why they look at themselves like God, and humans are like the dirty, ugly thing, or the undesirable thing, because they want to rise above it. They want to be God. And to be human is bad. Anyways, I've covered a lot in this video. Didn't keep it short, like I said. Even, you know, I think people should just expect that by now. I'll wrap it up with last couple examples. This could be me reaching, but I'll keep it brief. This is from a song from Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater called Snake Eater. And again, you see that devil. I mean, again, I don't have enough knowledge about the Metal Gear lore to tell you why he has that name and stuff. This is just me thinking about it in the context of everything else that I was just telling you. So the lyric is, I'm still in a dream, Snake Eater. So from that lyric, it makes it, like, there's a woman, the feminine especially, trapped, that's who's singing, trapped in a dream. I'm still in a dream, Snake Eater. The one who eats snakes, she's calling out, she's stuck in a dream, and she's calling out to the one who eats snakes to get her out, is how I take that. And again, I don't know a lot about Metal Gear. I'm just taking that lyric and plugging it into what I'm showing you in this whole video. And again, like I showed you, the snake is a lot of things. The snake symbol, it's an old symbol. Every culture has a snake symbol. And there's a lot of things to it. It's not all bad. But part of it, what we're seeing here, is that's the guy who wants to create the dream world. And I'm still in a dream, Snake Eater. So again, she's stuck in a dream, and then, okay, who's she calling out to get her out of the dream? The Snake Eater. Okay. Again, that could be nothing. If you know a lot about the game, you'll probably think I'm ridiculous for even saying that. I don't know anything about Metal Gear. So, last example. Hopefully my computer doesn't crash out on me. Okay. Last example is this little quote, and it kind of, you know, it definitely touches in with what I'm saying. When a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure. And that meaning is basically, like, it's all, I don't want to call it God, but it's kind of like God. Or it functions in a similar way. It's that meaning's like the call to action, or the thing that makes contending with the suffering and the hardships of life worthwhile. It's what makes the fact that you're gonna die tolerable, and like makes it so that you can still like face reality. Is that you're basically carrying the torch or contributing to this grand meaning that's been going on since the beginning of time. And I don't even think I think there is a spiritual element to it. I'm not even just saying it's this, you know, wow, like this like metaphorical meaning, or a psychological thing. That's definitely part of it, for sure. But I think there's an actual, like, other realm, like, different realms of reality. Anyways, I'll leave that up to you. I don't even know how to put that. When a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure. And that's the escapism, their face is melting, the TV, the cube. So again, I hope this video makes some kind of sense to you guys. I'm going to wrap it up now because it's gone on way longer than I expected, and I got off topic a few times, but it was still kind of on topic at the same time. And I can't really help it at this point. Anyways, let me know what you think. Thank you for watching.